Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to Norway once again and we're going to check out a brewery that I've never had anything from, so I'm really curious to see how this one turns out. We're going to stick to the Oslo area for this one, and this brewery can be found pretty much right on the edge of Oslo Fjord if you like. We're going to a little place called Asker to the southwest of the city and we're having a taste of my first beer from the Wettre Bryggeri. So this one is their Brisen Gullkyst IPA, which comes in at 7.5%, and this has got a pretty interesting hop mix in it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the video, but I'm very curious to see how it turns out. According to Untappd, this one is a New England style IPA, but from the research that I did on the brewery, from what I understand, this brewery is a little bit more of a kind of farmhouse brewery, and as we know, the Norwegian farmhouse ales are undergoing a little bit of a resurgence just now. There's quite a lot of interest in those Kveik yeasts from Norway just now. There's a lot of European breweries playing around with that, so this may well be a brewery to watch. A shout out as well to Mr. Hophead, who I discovered when I was researching this brewery, a Norwegian beer tuber who seems to be from very close to this brewery actually. He was talking about in his video how this is his local brewery, so make sure you check him out. I'll put the link to his channel in the description below, and you know, definitely one to watch for you guys up in Norway. I'll be keeping an eye on his channel because it'll be a good resource for Norwegian beer and things like that. It'd be cool to chat to him at some point too. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Wettre Bryggeri. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for the Norwegian beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about the Wettre Bryggeri then, and I will apologise in advance for any bad Norwegian pronunciations in this video because it is a little bit different from the Swedish that I learned. So anyway, on to the brewery notes. So Wettre Bryggeri was actually founded back on the 12th of December 2012 by Marius Hansen and Hans Elef Torilsson Wettre. So the brewery actually can just be found out to the east of Asker, which is to the southwest of Oslo. And like I say, this brewery pretty much sits on a farm on the edge of Oslo Fjord, on the kind of southwestern side of it. So Marius had apparently been a home brewer since 1991, and he'd always had the dream of one day starting his own brewery, and he had a particular interest in old brewing techniques according to the article I read. So I'm guessing they're talking about the old Norwegian farmhouse ales here. But Hans Elef had run a popular farm cafe on the Sondre Vetrogård, where this brewery is based, until 2011, and he was actually forced to shut it down because they simply didn't have the funds to kind of upgrade the ventilation system and put in the disabled access and things that the local authorities were demanding. So the two men apparently just met at a friend's party one day, and they got talking about different food and beer and things like that, because they both obviously had their passions, and they decided to brew beer together on Hans' farm, and they started off with a very small 100 litre brewery and upgraded one of the buildings on the farm too. But over the last few years they've gradually been building up their capacity, and they reopened up their cafe, I think it was in 2015, and this is now a pub that is called Kråka, which I think literally translates into English as the crow, and the crow of course is a very significant bird when it comes to Norse mythology and things like that. But as of 2019, according to Untappd, they've produced around 50 different types of beer, and there's all sorts of different things in there. There's IPAs, there was a couple of German beers and things like that as well. I'm sure I saw Helles in there, and they've done porters and stouts and all of that as well. So a brewery that's not scared to have a go at different styles, and from what I gather from what Mr. Hophead was saying, they seem to be pretty damn good as well actually. So if you get the chance to try some of their beers, pick them up. You'll find them in the Vinomonopoliets in Oslo at least, and I'm not sure how further afield they go from that. So again, do let me know that in the comment section below. But that was all the information I was really able to find on the brewery. I used ulpertalen.no for that. So if you are watching from Norway, again, do let me know some other sites that are good like that. In Sweden I used beernews.se, and of course with the German breweries you can use Hophead, and there's always very good beer news, craft beer news websites and things, so do please let me know those in the description below if you're watching from Norway. That would be a very good resource for future videos. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then. So this one, as I mentioned at the start of the video, is a 7.5% IPA. The hops that are in this one are Southern Passion, Chinook, Citra and Azacca. So we know Chinook and Citra and Azacca, you know, quite well known American hops these days. Chinook, a lot of kind of piney resins and grapefruit. Citra is the kind of classic high alpha acid hop, mangoes and, you know, lychees and a lot of these kind of tropical fruit complexities. And Azacca, you know, a kind of orangey, tangerine-y, pineapple-y sort of thing you get from that. Southern Passion though is the one that I was most interested in because I do not think I've had this hop before. So Southern Passion apparently comes from South Africa, and it's descended from Sats and Hallertau, or Zjatits as the Czechs would call it. Hallertau, of course, the German noble hops. But this is supposed to give you passion fruit, guava, red berries and melons apparently. So a very kind of tropical fruity hop, this one. And if this is the start of South African hops making their way up to Europe, I think, you know, that's something we definitely need to keep an eye on as well. Of course, Slovenia is another hop market, and the Poles are doing some really interesting hops as well. So yeah, there's a lot that, you know, beer is constantly evolving. That's one of the great things about doing these beer videos for you, is, you know, keeping up my beer education. So yeah, as you can see with this one, really nice artwork on it, I have to say, and all of their beers seem to have quite a, you know, a similar label to this. Mainly, you know, they're just usually different colours, to be honest with you. So there's the crow there, and you can see the Wettre Bryggeri symbol on their bottle cap there as well. Just let you have a little closer look at that on the top of the label there as well. But from what I understand, Hans Elif's family, on the farm that this brewery is based on, the Sondre farm, the Sondre Wettre farm, it's you know, it's a farm that dates back to medieval times, and it talks a little bit about this on the label. So I apologise this because, yeah, as I say, Norwegian is a little bit different, but this one says it's the Brisen Gullkyst IPA. This one, it's saying here, this here comes summer in a glass. This is a light and hop driven IPA packed with delicate aromas or delightful aromas, I'm not quite sure. Light drinking and full in flavour. This one, it brewed on our basically brewed at our brewery in Oslo Fjord, and it talks a little bit about the farm here, and it says this one, there used to be a brewery on the farm apparently, and this was one of the most productive farms, and it dates back to 1647. So yeah, in fact, no, sorry, I told you lies. There wasn't a brewery on the farm. It was the farm itself dates back to 1647, and it was one of the most productive farms in terms of corn production and things like this. And they used to grow hops, I think it's saying as well. So yeah, interesting that. So I'm not able to translate that one fully, of course, because the Norwegian's a little bit beyond me. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting in a 7.5% IPA. This one, you can see nice little bit of smoke on the opening there. Quite a heavy duty bottle, this one as well. So let's get the beer out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Just going to check and see, maybe there's a little bit of sediment in this one, so we'll just sugar it up a little bit because the fridge was a little bit chilly. But we'll leave it at that. I think, yeah, there's about 2/3 of it in the glass. That's enough for the moment. So yeah, as you can see with this one then, there is a nice little degree of haze to this. So I would say in terms of colour, if I hold this one up to the light, it's definitely leaning towards the yellow kind of straw golden colour, this beer. There's a solid 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head on this one rather than being perfect white. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall, in terms of an IPA, nothing particularly surprising about this one in terms of its appearance. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see there is a degree of clarity to this beer, but it does have a nice little bit of haziness to it as well. So as I said, Untappd had this one down as a New England IPA. Going by its appearance, I'm not quite sure, but definitely within the right colour range for an IPA anyway. But let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on then. Oh, that smells pretty good, I have to say. Yeah, so there's a hell of a lot of nice juicy hoppy notes coming out of this. So, I mean, straight away you're going to get a little bit of that kind of piney resin and the sort of floral aromaticity. The green side of the hops for me it's a good balance between floral and resinous for me, and that's, you know, the Azaka. I don't know too much about the green side, but the Southern Passion, right enough, my first encounter with this hop. But Azaka and Citra always give you a nice, quite bright floral quality, and depending on what your malt base is, the Citra can lean a little bit more towards the grassy side of things. But to me, because of that nice sort of resinous backbone that you'll be getting from the Chinook, this beer does come across as being quite sort of floral. And in terms of the green side of the hops, but nice little bit of grassiness in there, maybe a little teeny touch of earthiness or something too, just a very small amount. But yeah, green side of the hops is exactly what you'd expect. In terms of the malt base then, for me it's quite a sort of bready quality that comes out of this one. There's a little bit of a biscuity note in there for me as well. Maybe even almost a little touch woody. It does have a little bit of there is a wee bit of a sort of farmhousey quality to this one. I wonder if they'll be using house yeasts and things like that. I mean, if it is a farmhouse brewery, I would be guessing that they're sort of cultivating their own yeasts and stuff like that. Or probably what they're doing is taking them from one of the big companies and then keeping them in-house and growing them themselves. It's always a good way to do it. But yeah, definitely a nice little bit of that bready, wheaty kind of quality in there. It's got a little bit of that kind of farmhouse funk, I guess you could say. It's almost a little bit peppery or something. No, peppery's maybe not the right word. But yeah, definitely a little bit of a woody quality to this one as well. A little bit biscuity. I'm not quite sure about caramel. Maybe a little bit, but more of a biscuity note for me in terms of the malt base. So yeah, nothing surprising about the malt base, to be honest with you. I like the farmhousey funky bit to it though. It's not overly, that essentially I should say as well, is not overly prominent. It's just a little kind of subtlety to the beer, if you like. But in terms of the fruity side of this one then, for me, nice little bit of yeah, you can pick out the oranges in there straight away. I mean, the Azaka oranges are really jumping out at me. There's a little bit of that pineapple quality in there as well. You can pick up the mangoes from the Citra too. The grapefruity notes from the Chinook are taking a little bit of a back seat, I think. They're not too obvious in my mind, but you can pick up a sort of passion fruity quality to this one. And you know, Citra always gives you these lovely kind of tropical fruit complexities. To me, the guava jumps out at you a little bit too. The other things, you know, the sort of red currants and things like that, I don't get too much of that. Guava's definitely, passion fruit's definitely there as well, and that's kind of mixing with the mango. But you can pick up a little bit of a lychee gooseberry kind of thing too. That's one of the complexities that you get from the Citra hop. It's a really interesting one, that, and it always depends what you mix it with as to what complexity you get in terms of the fruit, but it's always a kind of big mango quality. So that's a really interesting one. So as I say, in terms of fruit, passion fruit's definitely nice juicy sort of tangerine oranges, mangoes, the guava's kind of sitting on top of the mangoes almost, and then you get like a little gooseberry, lychee type quality out of this beer as well. So a really interesting aroma. That Southern Promise hop seems really interesting. Hopefully I get the chance to try, you know, a single hop IPA with that in it at some point. That's always how you learn about new hops and things, and like I say, it's cool to come across a South African hop. But as I always say, take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma. But let's have a taste of this beer now and just see how we get on. So this one is the Brisen Gullkyst IPA from the Wettre Bryggeri in Asker, just a little bit to the southwest of Oslo up in Norway. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. That's pretty nice. Yeah, that's good. You know, I'll give this one a thumbs up right away. It's got a good bit of stuff going on in it, I have to say. It's got a good level of complexity, and I mean, I can see why Mr. Hophead was saying good things about this brewery. The video that I watched, he was reviewing one of their canned releases that they've done, and was raving about it. It was using a fake yeast from what I gather, but this is good as well actually. I mean, this is a brewery that I'd love to try some more beers from. So yeah, where to start with this one? So, middle of your palate, you can feel that nice, smooth, bready quality there, just blanket in the middle of the tongue. It really does have a little bit of that kind of farmhousey, grainy quality to it, which is nice, and that's some of the stuff that's coming out of the yeast. I really like the base that this beer has. The further that you go into the aftertaste with this, the malt base, I think, it does almost thicken up a little bit, which is kind of interesting. It doesn't really come across as wheaty, and in fairness, it did come across as a little bit wheaty and more like a white bread in the aroma than it does in the flavour. But the further you go into the aftertaste, you'll start to notice more of the kind of caramelly sweetness in the middle of the palate there. You've also got a little bit of a biscuity quality that comes out. If you move out from the centre of your tongue, it does have a little bit of a biscuity sweetness to it as well. I think in terms of style, this one, for me, this beer, it leans more towards, it's got a farmhousey quality to it, definitely. It's got a base of that, but it does have a little bit of the sweetness and things that you would expect of a West Coast American IPA. So it's almost like a little bit of a hybrid, this one, for me. I will say that about it, but it definitely, it's got a little bit of that sort of brown sugary sweetness in the middle of your palate, but it is more of a sort of fake IPA, like a sort of farmhousey type IPA rather than anything else. But that is good. I mean, if you get the chance to try this one, have a go at it. Yeah, certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again, and you know, on the basis of that, I will be trying some more of their beers when I get a chance. But yeah, so yeah, like I say, you get a little, the middle of your palate will dry out a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste, of course, and then you start to get some sort of slightly woody-ish qualities, and the beer starts to lean more towards that kind of grainy, almost dusty type of farmhousey malt base that you're getting out of this. I say malt base, but it's really the yeast that will be coming from. But on the hoppy side of things, this is where the beer gets really quite interesting. Back corners of the palate, there's definitely a little earthy presence to this one. And I would be guessing, when I think about the hops that are in here, I'd say that that's most likely to come from either the Azacca or the Southern Promise, but there is definitely a little touch of an earthy quality there. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you can really feel this one. You can feel it sort of becoming more floral and aromatic, and you do pick up a little bit of that slightly dank pine resin out of this one, and that'll be the Chinook, because I say it's the big piney resinous hop that you're always going to get, but you pick out that a little bit. On the front corners of the palate you can get a little bit more of that kind of spicy floral aromaticity out of the beer. Yeah. And then round the very front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy, which is really nice. The way that the sort of piney, danky resins out of this beer come out, it kind of builds a good bridge actually, and the earthiness as well, that builds a good bridge between the slightly more grainy quality you've got in the malt base here and the sort of earthy qualities. There's a good bridge here between the hops and the sort of yeasty and malty side of the beer, in my opinion, and it does sweeten up the further you go into the aftertaste too. On the fruity side of things then, as I always say, you get that little oily bubble behind the front curve of your palate, and that's where those nice juicy fruity esters come out of the beer for me. If you go to the back of that oily bubble, you get a little bit of that kind of darker grapefruity note. That will be the Chinook, and so the Citra can contribute to that as well. If you move further forward from that, you start to get the passion, a little touch of the passion fruity notes, and I'm guessing that will be the Southern Promise in there, or the Southern Passion, sorry, not the Southern Passion. In my mind, that will be that coming out there. A little bit of that sort of passion fruity quality is there, and that's probably where it takes its name from, to be honest. As you come a little bit further forward from that, you start to get the mangoes, and it tastes as if there's almost just a little bit of guava kind of layered on top of that, in my mind. But then almost, if you go even further forward from that, just before the kind of front part of your tongue actually, that's where the sort of orangey qualities are coming out from the from the Azacca, but in fairness, to me it tastes a little bit like a kind of pineapple-y quality. I've always remember you get a bit of pineapple out of Azacca from what I remember. But on the very kind of front edge of the tongue almost, there's just a little bit of this light kind of gooseberry quality, and maybe a little bit of the guavas coming out there as well. And that, the guava, as I say, from the Southern Passion, and the sort of gooseberry lychee things will be from the Citra. The Citra is probably one of the most complex hops that you've come across today, because you get all these little mad undertones from it, but all the other ones are a little bit more direct in what they're doing. But I mean, the blend of fruit flavours in this one is really nice, definitely very, very tropical, but you do get a little bit of that slightly more citrusy orange in there too. So I really like how everything's going together in this one, so just, have a go at this beer for yourself and see what you think. But I'm impressed with that. I really hope that I can get a hold of some more of these. So yeah, just get it. Yeah, that's awesome. I wish there was an easier way to get a hold of some of these different Norwegian beers. I mean, the only way you can really get them is that either if someone gifts them to you, which doesn't happen very often, or if you go to Vino Monopoliet, which is where I got this one, of course. But it's a lovely beer, this one, and I really like how it goes together. And this one has been in the fridge a little bit as well. This isn't at its freshest, and I am still impressed with how this one's kind of holding up, actually. I'm reviewing this one for you at the very end of August 2019, sorry. And I think it goes out of date in like 3 weeks or something like that. But as it stands, it's still really solid. So big thumbs up to Wettre Bryggeri for this. I'm always going to struggle to say that name. But yeah, the Brisen Gullkyst IPA. Lovely beer, this one, and an unusual hop, of course. And that's what you always want when you've reviewed like 1800 odd beers or whatever. But yeah. So in terms of the mouthfeel then, I would describe this beer as being quite mid-bodied. The carbonation's very, very smooth. And one of the things I think you always find is a recurring theme with Norwegian beers. They always just have this, they always just taste very clean, and it's just to do with the water quality. Some people believe that water doesn't really affect the flavours of beers, but that's a load of rubbish. I mean, I can tell you from my chemistry studies and things like that, flavour is all to do with electronic transmissions in your nervous system and stuff like that. So you've got different ion contents and things in water from different places, so they do treat water, in fairness, but some water does taste different depending on where you get it from. And the Norwegian beers, for me, like the Icelandic ones, you can always just taste the quality of the water in this, and I'm quite sensitive to that as a Scot, because obviously whiskey and stuff like that, but really this beer has that again. It comes across as very clean in the overall mouthfeel, but like I said, very smooth carbonation, this one. I would say it has a good bit of an oily character to it, this beer. Yeah, it leans towards that oily side of things. In terms of hoppy bitterness, I think we're talking maybe, let's say about 40 IBUs. Yeah, maybe about 30 or 40 IBUs in this beer. It's not too high, I don't think. Although the dankness that you get from the Chinook does give you a little bit of that impression. But yeah, you get a nice little bit of hoppy bitterness out of this one. The malt base and the yeasty qualities are really kind of interlinking with each other, so you get a nice bit of smoothness there, and it dries out the further you go into your aftertaste, but it does get a little bit sweeter too, and also some nice oily, juicy, fruity qualities as well. But overall, a really nice beer, this one, and I'm glad that I was able to review this beer for you here. So I hope you've enjoyed my take on this one too. So let's leave it at that then. This one is the Brisen Gullkyst IPA from Wettre Bryggeri, just outside of Asker, on the southwestern part of Oslo Fjord. Like I say, very cool to review some more Norwegian beers for you. This is a brewery that I definitely want to visit the next time I go to Norway. Hopefully the next time I go, I've got a car or a camper van or something, and I can explore a little bit and see all these different places. But yeah, that's something that I really hope that I can do at some point. So yeah, impressed with this one, and it's a brewery that I do want to explore more. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Wettre Bryggeri as well. Do make sure you check out Mr. Hophead. Like I say, this is one of his local breweries. and you will hopefully see me review some more Norwegian beers fairly soon. Thanks again for watching. Check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys later. This one is the Brisen Gullkyst IPA from Wettre Bryggeri in Asker, just to the southwest of Oslo. Slange, skål, cheers, thanks.